Welcome to The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge. We're applying the mind of Christ to the matters of the day so that you can connect the eternal with the everyday and get ready to head out into the world that God so loves in ways that honor Jesus. So let's get started. This is The Reconnect.
Encouraging you to live as an ambassador of God's kingdom in the world.
This is The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge on Faith Radio.
If we're gonna fly, we fly like eagles, arms out wide. If we're gonna fear, we fear no evil. We will rise. By your power we will go. By your spirit we are bold. If we're gonna stand, we stand as giants. If we're gonna walk, we walk as lions.
So good to be with you. Rebecca Haney is my name. It's been my joy to be in and just to have fun in Carmen's chair just for a minute. I do not replace Carmen. Nobody ever could. She's one of a kind. But it's fun to be able just to share these mornings with you over the last few days. And I can't think of a better mission than to reconnect the eternal with the everyday. And to ground our days, first of all, to found them on the solid rock of the unchanging God and his truth and his word. And I was thinking a bit about our conversation with Chris about how we use our time. Obviously, we want to dedicate all of our lives to Christ. And so as we're getting up, before our feet hit the floor, that's always my prayer, right? Lord, use me however you need. However, whatever happens today, Lord, I'm here for you. And I just want to follow wherever you lead. Here I am, Lord, send me. Let's go see what kind of adventures will ensue. And I thought about that when I saw this story of a young boy. He's a teenager, so I guess we can call him a young man. But he's a 13-year-old boy in Utah, and he spent his whole summer building something pretty amazing. His name is Zach Waters, and he got to know about a story. He heard about a 21-month-old baby girl with disabilities, and he watched a YouTube channel about 3D printing. And so he took those two things and put them together. He wanted to do something with it for this little girl that he had never even met. And so he spent his entire summer building a custom wheelchair. He found an organization called Make Good, and that's what they do, is they help 3D print devices for people with disabilities to assist them. And so Zach got to work, and he spent 300 hours designing, printing, testing, assembling this tiny little wheelchair. He custom designed it specifically for this little girl. He painted it pink. He printed it. He custom printed pink accents because that's her favorite color. He built a removable cup holder and a tray table for this little girl's wheelchair, and he designed a space up in the back so that she could carry around the equipment that she needed and her parents could. And he gave her soft bendable straps that won't dig in. He designed a little footrest and a headrest so that it can grow with her as she grows. And I saw the interview. They asked him why he did it. And he said it combines his two favorite things in the world, which is 3D printing and helping people in need. 13-year-old Zach Waters, he gets a gold star. Well done, sir. Well done, young hero. And isn't that the way? Like, if we're looking, I've been thinking about the conversations that we've had for the last few days. And over again, we see that God is already working. And he has placed a dream in your heart. He's placed things that just light you up in your life. And it is such a great privilege to discover where those things are. And it's really the joy of life to figure out what those things are for you. And then how you can give that back to God and how God will use that to serve others. We're just tiny threads in the tapestry of eternity, but God in his wisdom uses each and every one of us, the dreams in your heart, the skills that you have, the place that you are, who you are, when you are, where you are, for the greatest story of all time, for our good and for his glory. And I just like that makes everything different. That makes the way we walk through life different and how we see one another different? What if God is using your passion for his great purpose and what you're so excited about and what you long to do, that could help introduce someone you don't even know to his love today. Isn't that exciting? I absolutely love it. I also love taking my kids to the movies, and I'm going to discover whether or not I should do that this weekend. And if we do, what's in store for us with Adam Holz of Plugged In Ministries. This is Rebecca Haney in for Carmen on The Reconnect. Adam Holtz is with us from Plugged In Ministries. Adam, we're seriously thinking about heading out to the theaters this weekend, but it's a big production to take all of us and the six kiddos in our family. So I would love to hear. So this is really just for me. Let's talk about what we should see or maybe not.
Well, we can start with Paw Patrol, the Dino movie,
Okay,
which
sounds good.
is what it sounds like. It's Paw Patrol, the Dino movie, and Paw
Sure.
Patrol itself is a mashup of, puppy dogs and police work. So we already have a genre melding of sorts going on there. Paw Patrol's been a really popular series. This is the third movie that has been made, and the last one made like a surprising amount of money. I don't have that figure in front of me. I just remember that it caught everybody, excuse me, by surprise. And the Paw Patrol pups, their names are Sky, Marshall, Rubble. Rubble. That's a good dog name. Rocky,
It is.
Chase, and
Chase.
Zuma. Chase is also a good dog name. So they protect Adventure City, and they are out on their big boat, the Sea Patroller, when the storm comes in and it blows them off to, back in the day we would have called it an uncharted desert isle, but I don't think we're talking about Gilligan's Island here. And they meet a Bernese Mountain Dog there named Rex, who has been marooned, and he's handicapped. He's in a wheelchair, but thankfully he has a friend. His friend is named Timmy, and Timmy is a T-Rex who takes him everywhere he needs to go. And
Sure.
the Paw Patrol they're so thrilled to realize there's an island of friendly dinosaurs that people need to know about. But of course, we still have to reckon with Mayor Humdinger, who is the Paw Patrol nemesis. He has tried to go straight and do right. He's just gotten out of prison, which seems actually a very real world downer for a kid's show.
Right.
But when he's watching a newscast and sees diamonds in the background behind those dinosaurs, well, poor old Mayor Humdinger. I mean, things go south from there.
Can't help himself, can he?
He can't help himself. So we have a little bit of mild peril, and of course, we have to have some bathroom humor because it's a kids show. I don't know. That's an unwritten commandment somewhere that we got to have a poop joke or two. But dinosaurs are good for that sort of thing. And that's really all we have to worry about here. This is a fine, fun, exactly what you think it is kind of movie, which if you're a parent, there is a certain value in that. Whether this is one that will prompt you to pay 12 or 13 bucks a ticket for your 6 children feels like another question entirely. I think you can tell by my tone, I might lean toward no on that.
That's good. I'm glad you're shooting us straight, Adam. We really appreciate that.
I think that you can probably stream the last Paw Patrol movie for free, and nobody's going to know the difference. So there you go.
I appreciate that expert opinion. Thank you. And another one we were looking at was the new Spider-Man movie, which, for our older kids, I think they're a lot more interested in something like that. But I will say that with some of these known quantities, and you kind of hinted at that, Adam, that sometimes it's just nice as a parent to be able to trust that if we take our kids somewhere for entertainment, that we're going to get what we expect to get. Because honestly, I've seen enough comic book movies, I've seen enough things where you go in expecting one thing, and then they start, pulling an old switcheroo in terms of worldview or content that they're using, and suddenly you have to earmuff it when you didn't expect to in an otherwise like family friendly type of movie. So, and I know you know what I'm talking about, and I think
do.
that
I
with
do.
something like the new Spider-Man, because they keep telling new chapters of this story. Is this a good opportunity to enjoy the classic superhero story, or is this one that swerves?
Yes. Both of those things.
Okay.
This is a really good movie. It picks up at the end of 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home. And at the end of that movie, for a lot of reasons that I won't go into, Doctor Strange had to cast a spell that would make everybody forget Peter Parker. And so Peter Parker is really alone in a profound way here. And this is a film that I think emphasizes how important those friendships are, being known by somebody, and what happens when you lose those. So we have a villain that shows up on the scene here, and he sort of tends to, I don't think they use possess, but use the word possess, but take over other people, which when he takes over somebody like the Hulk, it presents problems. And Peter Parker is trying to figure out who is this new mystery bad guy. It made it to $700 million in the United States faster than any movie in history. It's well
Wow.
on its way to 2 billion globally, and conversations are building about whether it has the right stuff to take down Avatar. So people love Tom Holland. They love Zendaya. Who it feels like they're both in every movie now. So when you get done with that, you
Right.
can go see the Odyssey, and actually don't check out our full review for that too. But I think that the issues here with this one, it is what you would expect it to be. You've got a good bit of comic book intense violence, that sort of thing. But there are 5 or 6 misuses of God's name in a really harsh way. And I think people understand what I mean when I say that. And that's a particular word that is a choice by a screenwriter. And I'm like, really? That many of that word? And I don't want to, sound like a prude, but I think especially for people of faith, that those are harsh moments. Those are jarring moments. And then Peter Parker is beginning to develop his own, well, there's no kind or nice way to say this, his own web fluid. He has manufactured it up to this time, and now he's going through sort of a late adolescence of sorts. And they play suggestively with that in a way that's like, oh, I could have done without that too. So there are some moments here that I don't think are deal killers. But like with almost all superhero movies these days, we have these moments where we're confronted with content that is not great. And it may not be a deal killer. And I think if you've got high school kids and they're in public schools, they hear worse than that in the first 30 seconds they're in school. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't think about it critically.
Sure.
And certainly we have those things to think about here.
Yeah. Well, and filtering through what we allow to influence us is pretty critical. And I think maybe that's one of the key distinctions that we need to make in our age is how we are allowing the world to influence us, where we're spending our time, where we're spending our focus, because all of these are choices. Like you said, the language that a movie uses is a choice. The language we use is a choice. And then our question is, are we letting those voices come in to our time, our attention, and our focus, and to what extent? Adam Holz is our special guest from Plugged In Ministries, and I'd love to return right there because we can talk about some of the voices that we are allowing to influence us, and the fact that influencer is like a legitimate career choice these days. It's one of the top like, what do we want to be when we grow up, kids? Apparently, social media influencer is one of those. So when we come back, we'll talk more about what that means for our world, and then how we can actually use our influence for good when we come back. Rebecca Haney is my name, and I'm in for Carmen on The Reconnect.
Hey, friend, Carmen here. Thanks for being here. One of the things we all need is other believers who will pray for us. We need a community of people who will stop, drop, and pray for the concerns that we often carry around silently in our hearts and minds. Those burdens, they're meant to be shared. And we have a way for you to access the family of faith here at Faith Radio. So you can visit myfaithradio.com, or if you're listening on the Faith Radio app, you're going to see a button that says, Let Us Pray For You. When you click Let Us Pray For You, it will take you to our prayer page. There you'll see prayer requests that others have posted, and you're encouraged to pray for them. You'll also see a place for you to share your prayer requests. You can decide whether or not those requests will remain anonymous, but either way, we will pray for you. We count it a privilege to pray with you for the concerns of your life. Prayer is a wonderful communion with God, and prayer is one of the ways we cultivate community with one another. So let us pray for you today and in the days to come. Click the Let Us Pray For You button at myfaithradio.com or on the free Faith Radio app. Go ahead, do it right now. I'll wait for you right here. We can continue our conversation when you get back. And in the meantime, I'll pray.
Rebecca Haney in for Carmen today on the Reconnect. Adam Holz from Plugged In Ministries, our special guest. And I love how Adam helps to equip you and your team, of course, help equip families and help equip parents, grandparents, those who care about kids especially. But we're all in the same situation in this social media age. We're all constantly being influenced. And Adam, this is actually like the top career choice for kids in the coming generation. They want to be influencers when they grow up. Is that a problem?
They do. And I actually was just looking up some stats on that. The most recent one finds that 60% of kids want to be social media influencers. So, wow. Back in the day, it was astronauts or, veterinarians or, there were real jobs. I guess I just betrayed my bias with describing it that way. But now, kids want to be social media influencers, and it's there's a loop that gets reinforced constantly because most kids are on social media and most kids are being influenced by it. And so the images, the ideas, the personalities that they see there are shaping their sense of identity, shaping their sense of ambition. And I think that I saw another article recently that said the main reasons that kids want to be social media influencers are, this is going to sound familiar, fame and money, right? It's not particularly altruistic. It's pretty self-focused. And I think that what we have to help our kids realize is that there is an illusion of accessibility. Now, certainly any of us can get online and start posting some kind of content whenever we feel like it, right? The bar is very, very low, but the odds of you becoming rich and famous as a social media influencer are not that different than back in the day if you wanted to be a rock star or a professional athlete or an actor or actress. I think most parents would have said, well, that's nice, honey, but we have to think about reality, right?
Get a real job.
And so,
right, exactly. I may have heard that a time or two when I was growing up. And you're right.
I did not become a rock star, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. I don't know.
Well, and kids are seeing this. It looks, like you said, I think accessible is a good word. And there's even a story about Arizona State University has developed a degree in content creation. So it does. Yes. It's looking more and more like a legitimate career path. It is for a very select few people that can, become a YouTube millionaire. But at the same time, that's a very, very small percentage. And to think of how much time it would take to dedicate your life to something only to discover, to wind up empty in the end, to discover that you are not one of the 0.1%. YouTube has just released that they're going to make it twice as hard, basically, that they're raising their bar as to who can even make money on their platform by 8,000 hours or something. So someone has to watch you have to produce, the videos you produce would have to be watched 8,000 hours. That's almost a year. That's almost a year of people watching your content before you can make any money from it. And that standard would be insane. But I don't think that kids are realizing that when they sign up to say, oh, I can just, take a funny video and go be a star. It's that same old fame and fortune line that's kind of as
Right.
old as time. But we ourselves are spending so much time consuming content that I guess it's only natural that we move toward the thing that we're focused on.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And YouTube, just to go back to that story, the old threshold was 4,000 hours. So they doubled it. And I actually probably spend more time on YouTube than it's one of my primary, I guess, entertainment or screen oriented outlets of choice. And the content creators are ragingly angry. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
level of anger over this decision is massive. But YouTube says it's because, there's so many people trying to do this. We just want to make sure that, you know, people have the best content and blah, blah, blah. Whereas
Yeah.
everybody else knows this is a money grab, right? You're making
Mm-hmm.
content for them that's making them money and you're not getting anything for it. But again, even at that threshold, even if you hit the minimum threshold, we're talking pennies. It's not like you get to that threshold and all of a sudden you start cashing $10,000 checks a month. It doesn't
Right.
work that way. You have to have millions and millions and millions of followers, views, and engagement for it to become anything meaningful in terms of an ongoing income. And the other problem is the second you stop producing that content, their algorithm notices and says, oh, they're not interested in creating new stuff. We're not going to push their things anymore, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a trap in the sense that you can't stop doing it or you get immediately penalized. And again, I
It's a
don't
trap.
think most kids are going to realize that.
Right. Well, until you're in it and until you waste a monumental amount of time doing it. And then like most
Right.
of the pretty lies that are out there, it's like the circus fades away and we realized, oh, I guess being a rock star and retiring early wasn't much of a plan, was it?
Right. No, and on the flip side, I will say sometimes it does work the other way. My youngest
Mm-hmm.
daughter, she has a friend. They just do acoustic worship music on their social media channel. And they put up a thing saying, "Hey, we live in California. We're going to just have a little worship night on the beach." It got 10,000 views and 100 people showed up. I mean, we were
Wow.
we were astounded, and we heard from several of those people they just want something authentic and real. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think even in the midst of a world that is anything but authentic and real most of the time, there's that hunger for the real thing. And I think that's in the mix here too. So I think there may be opportunities to create content that is redemptive for people. We just have to do that with an understanding that if that is your career goal, it may be a lot harder than you think it is.
Well, and that's I think absolutely a great place to go with this, Adam, because we can use any tool at our disposal to further the kingdom, to introduce people to Christ, to uplift, to
Exactly.
encourage. It's all in how we use it, and that's I think the healthy approach for Christians and things like social media, new media, influencer culture. I was watching Mike Winger, who of course is a very famous. He's the Bible thinker guy. He's one of
Uh-huh.
the guys that answers tough biblical questions on the internet, and that is his
Yep.
career and it is his ministry. So it is possible to do that. But he was talking about how he got started and how it was early on in the YouTube journey. But he was saying he would do these long question live streams where he would put out Bible lessons and he would get like 45 people or
Yeah.
30
Or
45 views,
two.
and it
Yep.
doesn't sound much like compared to millions and millions of views because our expectations are pretty warped. But he said I was thrilled if 30 people showed up at
Yeah.
my church for a Bible study to sit and listen to us talk about
Oh,
Romans.
yeah.
Like
He'd be
what a
thrilled.
thrill that would be. And to just
Yeah.
even understand, like, and I break it down for us, for wherever we go today, in our families, in our coworkers, whatever environment God has for us today, if there's just one person that listens to your heart about Jesus, that you're able to pray for, that you're able to encourage, then each one of us is influencing in ways that echo through eternity. So I think
Right.
it's just so important not to get thrown off by the world's metrics that say that you have to have this big stage and millions of people have to watch you in order for you to matter. Because in God's economy, even one soul is worth it.
Well, and if I can add just one thing to that, a
Of course.
synonym for influence is leadership, right?
Mm,
And just the basic question, where are we leading people? And if you are online in any capacity, how are you leading people? What are you pointing them toward? And how does that connect with your faith and with that bigger worldview?
yeah. And to recognize those moments of influence or those moments of leadership as super important as well. Like the way that you treat
Exactly.
people when you're in line at the grocery store or when you're in the office or when you're around the kitchen table with your toddler that just spilled chocolate milk all over your clean floor. No names mentioned. Like the
Right?
way that we treat one another in those little
Everybody spills,
interactions.
Rebecca. Everybody spills.
Yes, I've been told that. And yet mom's the one with the towel every time.
Right?
But
Well,
it's a
there's that
chance.
too.
It's a chance to use your influence for good. Those are all gifts. God gives us those
Yes.
wonderful opportunities to have real influence with people he really loves. So, I
Yeah.
think that's something
And
we can all do today.
and sometimes that influence comes back the other direction. This is, I'll try to shorten this. We got on the Caitlin Clark train when she
Sure.
was in college. We have become big Indiana Fever fans. We watch a lot of WNBA basketball now. We never used to, and that was because
Mhm.
of really of Caitlin Clark's influence. But last night, my other daughter's like, "Why do you guys watch so much basketball? Can we just turn it off? Does it really matter that much?" And as
Yeah.
parents, sometimes we need to be ready for those moments when our kids turn the tables on us. We often think this is the kids' problems and we're helping them, but sometimes they see something that is a blind spot for us. And are we going to be humble enough to receive that and to respond to it, and to say, yeah, you know what, maybe we've gotten a little out of whack, and maybe it's not something that's particularly problematic, but we're just consuming too much of it, and that can
Yeah.
happen easily too.
Good point. Good word, Adam. We really appreciate all that you do and the sheer amount of time and focus that you spend in this world to help us to make good, solid choices and to help us use our time, our focus, and our influence wisely. God bless you, brother. Thanks.
You bet. Thanks, Rebecca.
Man, well, now we've got some decisions to make when we go to the movie theater or not, and how we use our time. I think redeeming the time is a great call for me, for you, for our generation. And that is possible in the goodness of God. We're going to talk here in just a moment with Pedro Garcia, and he's written a fascinating book. He's got a fascinating story as well. He used to be an avowed atheist, and now he's a Christian minister, and he is reaching out with his new book to those who are skeptical or those who are deconstructing their faith. And we'll learn to have mercy for those who doubt in just a moment. Rebecca Haney in for Carmen on The Reconnect. I think everyone has doubts sometimes, but when those doubts continue to persist, we start to ask some tough questions. Maybe circumstances lead us to start doubting things we've long believed. And let's park there and unpack that for just a minute. Our next guest, Pedro Garcia, has a new book out. It's called "For Those Who Doubt." And they're conversations for those deconstructing Christian faith. And Pedro has such an interesting story and perspective. I'm excited to have him on the line today. Pedro, it's good to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. And I would love to just start with a little bit about you. And you kind of have this fascinating transformation. You were a former atheist, right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. So what did God do in your story and in your life? If I were, just to meet you as we're headed to an airplane or something, I would say, "Oh, hi. What do you do, Pedro? And how did you go about? Like, what's your story? What happened?"
Yeah. So what happens? I grew up in Spain, and I grew up nominal Catholic, and even though I ended up studying music, saxophone player, I really liked, wondering about the universe, the big questions in life. I would have loved to study philosophy, but music was starting to go well, and I ended up being a finalist on Spain's Got Talent in the TV show in
Oh,
2008.
wow.
And that allowed me to travel a little bit, and they invited me to be a guest professor here in Nashville, and for 3 months in 2012. And when I came, at that point, I had become an atheist because of something that happened in my Catholic school. I had many questions, and the answers were not like they were not getting my questions well. And at that point, I didn't know. I didn't have the capacity to know how to separate people that claim to follow Jesus and Jesus himself.
Sure.
So I just put everything together and let it go. But when I came here, I kept reading and wondering, even though I was an atheist. But then I started meeting Christians here, and then I met the person who actually became my father-in-law later in life, and he was a Bible translator. He was an expert in Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, and I had this thought like Christians don't know anything, or they're being lied to, and all of that. But then when I met him, he was starting to blow my mind away with all his knowledge and everything. Yeah. And then I asked all these questions and everything. And long story short, what happened was I read for the first time the Sermon on the Mount. And when I first read that passage, 3 things happened. The first one was that, I had this feeling, I want the world to be like this. Clearly, I want the world and people to be, me too. Yeah. The second one was, this person that is saying these things claims to be God. What a claim, right? And the third thing was I was afraid of death myself, and this person also claimed to have conquered it. So many things happened as I was reading that. And long story short, I gave my life to Jesus. Unfortunately, I gave my brain to Jesus for a couple of years. But then from my brain, it went to my heart when I really understood what Jesus did for me and everyone on the cross and the resurrection. And man, I just fell in love with him. And after that, because of my background, I wrote this. For 10 years, I had conversations with non-believers, putting together events with Christians and atheists together here in Nashville. And I realized for 10 years, no one ever told me I left Christianity because of Jesus. No one ever told me that. And it blew my mind. So that's why I wrote the book, For Those Who Doubt, Is It Because of Jesus? And that is the question that triggered all my ministry now, with the book, with the podcast, with everything I do on social media, where anyone is interested. I just focus on the psychology of people that claim to be living Christianity, or those who left. My question, is it because of Jesus? Get to the root of the psychology behind it, because many people say no. I didn't live because of Jesus, and that blows my mind. So that's a summary.
Yeah, well, and that's a great highlight reel, Pedro. I mean, there's so much that God has clearly done in your life that's I can't wait for the movie version. That's going to be a really good story. And I thought about that actually as I was reading this book, because you wrote it in kind of like a play or a screenplay, a movie, because it's dialogue between different characters. You're looking at their conversation, and you can picture them at a coffee shop at the table as they're talking back and forth, having these conversations. And that was an interesting style. What was behind that choice?
Well, I first wrote a book with 15 chapters with topics, and then some friends of mine told me, Pedro, this book is not. It reads like a manifesto. It's just it's not interesting, even though some ideas are. And then an agnostic friend of mine told me, Pedro, I think you should write a story out of this. And I got so excited, because it's true. We are creatures that are, driven by stories, and we like seeing ourselves in them. And I love stories too. So I wrote it in a story with characters. It's a Christian who's losing his faith, and an ex-atheist that now Christian is helping him. And it's very raw book. It's fun too, but These two friends meet at a coffee shop, and many things are happening around them in their life. And the point, I mean, you see lots of apologetics in the book, but the whole point for me in the book was I'd like to invite Christians and non-Christians who are not don't have the capacity to spend time with people that think differently than them. I want them to have an extra seat at that table for them to know what those conversations feel like. But the whole point of the book is that Christians who are doubting, those people usually isolate themselves. We can go into that if you want to, but doubt takes you to isolation. So the whole book and the whole premise and the whole push of the book is that at the end, the book ends with a question, is it because of Jesus? So the hope is that the Christian who's doubting and that is reading says, no, it's not. And they can go back to Jesus and have the most incredible renewed faith in him.
Right. Well, and because Jesus hasn't changed, and he never does.
Exactly.
And the fault is not with him. It's oftentimes it reveals where our faith was really placed.
Amen. Yes.
And that's so critical. Pedro, I think you've highlighted one of the big tactics of the enemy is to isolate. And if we're not walking in community, like that's why God gives us a family of faith to belong to. And could you say just a little bit more about why it's important not to resist that urge to isolate with our doubts and our questions?
Yeah, well, as humans, we have the tendency, it's very natural to want to belong. And when a Christian has a doubt, whatever doubt it is, the first feeling is, oh, I'm doubting, therefore I'm sinning, which is not true. And then with these doubts, they feel that if they put words to it, their community is going to, reject this or feel that they're weird. And I mean, if that happens with a community, that I would gently suggest either talk to them or leave that community because, I mean, doubting Christianity, being a Christian, it's almost like you become part of a 2,000-year-old tradition because, like, I'm still trying to find one person in Scripture that didn't doubt or do something, pushed by doubt in their life. I mean, the last prophet of the Old Covenant, John the Baptist, doubted himself. I mean, from prison. So doubts. There are two ways to doubt. Either you doubt towards Jesus or you doubt away from him. So I would say doubt towards Jesus. Just bring the question to Jesus. He's not scared about your questions, and doubt is going to prompt a more intimate relationship. But going back to your question, the isolation is because of that. Because people think, oh wow, they won't want to hear my question, and then they start saying, okay, better not to say anything. But because they have that feeling that is actually not true, because they haven't tested it, they start isolating themselves. And that isolation, the enemy uses as, like there's no answer for this question. And many of these people that are beautiful people, by the way, they actually start trying to find people with the same doubts, and they build identity towards that doubt, and they become non-believers because of it, but they don't realize that it was never because of not there being an answer for their question. It was because they found identity towards something that is not true, which is Jesus or Christianity or Christians are not ready to tackle any of their doubts with love.
Well, and there's so much there to unpack, Pedro. Let's take a little break. When we come back, let's come right back to there, because I think for those of us, like either this is our struggle or it's someone we know. And so I'd love to share some encouragement on how to handle our doubts and how to doubt toward Jesus. I absolutely love that. Pedro Garcia is the author of For Those Who Doubt, and you can check out more on his book, on his resources at his website, which is isitbecauseofjesus.com. And that's the central question. Rebecca Haney in for Carmen this morning on The Reconnect.
Have you ever been to visit a new place, maybe even a new church, and you're like, who are these people? What are they all about? And what are all the various things that they're offering? Well, maybe you're feeling a little bit that way about what you've stumbled upon here at the Reconnect or at Faith Radio. Well, welcome, first of all. You're not here by accident. I totally trust that this is like a divine appointment that God has set, and I'm thrilled to be sharing in this time with you. But if you're new to the Reconnect or to Faith Radio, we would love to share a little bit more about who we are and all the other stuff that we're doing. You can request a welcome pack. It includes goodies and swag and information on ways that you can connect and grow in your faith. You can request your welcome pack right now. Text the word welcome to 877-933-2484. Again, text the word welcome to 877-933-2484. You can follow the link, or you can also request one at myfaithradio.com. In fact, I think of myfaithradio.com as kind of the one-stop point for all things Faith Radio. That's where you can connect not only to the show, but to previous episodes of the show via podcast. You can check out the other things that we're offering. You can not just get a welcome pack, but there's just any endless number of things that you can do at myfaithradio.com. In addition to requesting your welcome pack, just let me encourage you to just take a little tour, walk around, get to know us. And then in turn, we'd love to get to know you.
Pedro Garcia is our special guest. He's the author of For Those Who Doubt, which is conversations for those who are deconstructing their faith. And Pedro, I know that's a topic du jour these days, so you're right on trend with that. But you mentioned that there's a couple different ways that you can doubt or deconstruct, that it doesn't necessarily mean that you've rejected everything about faith, but there is a way to doubt toward Jesus. I think that's fascinating, and I'd love for you to say more about that.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes. Yeah, well, remember we can use scripture with this. So John the Baptist is in prison, and he, of course, probably scared. And he saw Jesus coming out of the water, the Holy Spirit descending on him, the voice of the Father saying, "You're my son." You're quoting one of the Psalms. I forgot the number now. But and I mean, he saw all of that. And now he's in prison. He's going through something difficult, which is very common when doubts come. And he sends his disciples saying, "Hey, would you go to Jesus and tell him, are you the one who's supposed to come?" And he does that. And then Jesus answers yes, and quotes Isaiah, "You see, the deaf are hearing, lame are walking." And when they leave with this answer for John, Jesus turns around and said to the people, "Hey, and you think that John is actually the greatest here on earth, the least in the kingdom of heaven, but the greatest here." And you go, "Wow!" So doubting, around Jesus says he's amazing, and you would go, "Wow, what is this?" I think he actually greatest that John brought the question to him and not to the world. So that's what I mean. Doubting towards us. If you truly have a relationship with Jesus, like if you have a relationship with a spouse or a friend, when you have a problem, you go to them. You don't go around them or talk to others about. You go to Jesus. You talk to them. You relate with them, and that is something that unfortunately people don't do. So yeah, that's what I mean with doubting towards Jesus, because this is going to be a relationship, and because of living in a broken world, we're going to have doubts in this world, absolutely. But that's why we have a relationship with Jesus and not actual religion, where you're supposed to do things in order to get to heaven,
Yeah, I think that's pretty key. We've been talking this morning about the difference between knowing information, and in this case, information about God, knowing what the words of Jesus or the timeline of Jesus, and actually knowing Him. And I think that's pretty key, too, as we're relying on faith. I don't think it can just be this intellectual understanding of, oh, yeah, these things happened 2,000 years ago at a specific place and time. I think we have to focus as well on the faith building that comes when we know Jesus, not just about him.
Yes, exactly.
So if somebody is struggling with some of these doubts, and I think, so I'm a parent, and I know parents and grandparents, as we're getting ready for the back to school era, that's sort of the concern. Maybe we've raised up our kids in the knowledge of Christ, and now they're going off on their own to college or to the world for the first time. And so many times these are the questions that are considered, and there's the stereotype of the Christian kid goes off to college and leaves the faith. So I wonder if you could speak to someone in that moment, in a season of transition, and help encourage them as to what they can talk about and how they can show the truth of who Jesus is.
Yes. So the one thing I would say about that is I would do this. I plan to do this with my kids when they're older. But the one thing I would say is at least the year before going to college, parents should be very intentional to talk to their kids about what's outside of the bubble. If they haven't been experiencing that, because one of the main reasons why people leave their faith in college, it's because it's not actually because of answers or midnight conversation with an atheist. That's quite a story, but it's usually not the main reason. The main reason is because all of a sudden these kids are alone and they don't have a filter to their internal desires. So that's what it is. So sometimes there's certain conversations that are not, fun to have with your kid, but they're necessary, because if you don't have them, then they are going to try to find answers, in other places. So the intentional discipleship with your kid, then the year before they go to college, I would say all their life, but if you haven't done it, the year before. Because, in college, they're going to find many worldviews and people thinking differently and people dismissing Jesus while partying on Fridays. And that is very appealing, because all of a sudden they don't have a curfew. They're trying to find themselves. There are many things that they haven't tried. And we all have these desires in our hearts, So I would say, answers about, philosophy, ontology, and all of this, that's all fine. But there's that desire in people's hearts. And those desires, they have to be talked about in the open before they filter it through the world. So I would say that's the main reason.
Yeah. Well, and you hit on such a central point, Pedro, which is that most of the time when we have objections, it tends to have more to do with pain in our lives or with circumstances in our lives. It has nothing to do with the unchanging, perfect person of Jesus Christ, or almost never. And lots of times we will allow those intellectual questions to kind of obfuscate things and give us a justification for walking away. And so if that starts happening in our hearts or in someone that we know, what is your best advice? How can we get back to the root and get back to who Christ really is?
So I would say not to be, how do you say that in English? Cheesy, but I really mean it. I think the question, is it because of Jesus? It's just so central. I think that is the main question. That it's so simple, but that question is going to push people to say, if someone says, is it because of Jesus, and they say yes, then hey, okay, why, right? But if someone says no, to that question, no, it's because of my pastor, it's not because of Christianity this, it's because politics, it's because of that. All of that is, I guess, fine. But if it's not because of Jesus, he's the God of the universe, became a human being just to love you even more and dying for you, then there's a huge white path back to him that you just not realize. And if you allow me, like in less than 30 seconds, many people become atheists, agnostics, and all of this, thinking that they're living because of intellectual reasons. I've come to find out the main reason why people leave Christianity is because they have been hurt. They don't know how to process their hurts, and they do something I call intellectual shielding, which is building intellectual walls around them so that they can protect a heart that is hurting.
Yeah. Lord, help us reach those hurting hearts and have mercy on those who doubt. Pedro Garcia, you've been so great. Thank you so much for writing this book. Check out his website, which is isitbecausefjesus.com. God bless you, Pedro.
God bless you too.
And God bless you. Thank you for listening. It has been my true joy to be with you and just to have fun here sitting in for Carmen. All will be right with the world. She'll be back again on Monday. In the meantime, trust the Lord with what's going on in your life. He's already there. He already knows. He's working all things out for your good. And may he bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you today.
Thanks for listening to The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge. Let us know how we can help you more fully reconnect the eternal with the everyday. We want to walk with you throughout your journey of discipleship, so let's connect. You can text us at 877-933-2484 or connect with us online at myfaithradio.com and on all our social media. I look forward to connecting with you as we each seek to reconnect the eternal with the everyday.